Hi, this video will discuss long-run market supply curves and go over the three situations that a shape that the market supply curve could have. It could be flat, it could be increasing, it could be decreasing. So the image that we have previously discussed is a long-run market supply curve that had constant input costs. And here was the image where the long-run market supply curve was constant at the minimum of the long-run average cost curve. However, there could be a scenario where there are not constant cost markets, but maybe there's an increasing cost or a decreasing cost market. So let's define all three of these and then show you examples of each of them. So the constant cost market, this image where you have a longer market supply curve that's horizontal. This is a market where input prices remain constant as your output expands. If that's the case, as you expand your output and your input prices are not changing, then you have yourself a supply curve in the long run that's flat. What if we had, instead of a constant cost market structure, an increasing cost market structure? What is this? This is, as you expand your output in this market, the input prices rise. So you want to produce more tomatoes, let's say. You call up more tomato workers and they're like, oh, I'm busy today, I'm picking cucumbers. And you're like, oh, I want you to work me picking tomatoes. And so they'll come work for you, but you got to pay them more than the cucumber farmer's paying. So this could be a case where you've got inflated wages in order to attract increase in output. So this is a long-run supply curve that would have a positive slope. So there can be scenarios where you have a non-constant input prices. The scenario I gave you where farmers are bidding over the cucumber and tomato workers to work at their farm is an example where input prices could vary. In this case, increase as you expand your output. So here's the image that would reflect this increasing cost market structure. So initially you're here at P1 and Q1, there's your average cost and marginal cost. But hey, you want to expand, you want to grow more tomatoes. Well, workers are hard to come by, so that increases your marginal cost and that increases your average cost. And so now we're MC2 and average cost 2. And so yeah, you did expand your output, but you're paying a higher price for it to get that expanded output. And likewise over here, now we're seeing equilibriums that, hey, as you expand your price per unit, they expand their output, increasing long-run market supply curve that's increasing. But there could also be this third scenario where you have decreasing cost market structure. So this is the case where, hey, you expand your output and your input prices, they fall. They get lower as output expands. In this case, a long-run market supply curve would be negative. Let's talk about that scenario now. So a decreasing cost market, this would be an example of economies of scale, where as your market output rises, some factor prices drop. And this could maybe occur, for example, in the beer industry. So brewing small batches of beer is very labor intensive, but brewing large batches of beer, look, you got 3 guys running the show, producing all kinds of beer, whereas here you got 3 guys and actually a 4th guy brewing 1 small pot of beer. So, hey, there are some economies of scale to large brewing operations. And so here in this case, a longer market supply curve may have this downward slope where as you expand your output from Q1 to Q2, your marginal costs drop, your average costs drop, and so now you're having larger output but at a lower price. Okay, so those are and to recap, those are the 3 scenarios you can have for a long-run market supply curve. If it's constant, the long-run supply is flat. If it's increasing cost market, then longer supply curve will have a positive slope. If it's decreasing cost market, input prices are falling with output, then long-run supply curve has a negative slope.